Hello, and welcome to the inaugural bonus episode of the Alexander Society podcast. Just a few things before we get into this episode. This episode was recorded a while back during the Smedley Butler episode, and we've been holding on to it for a situation like this. We're having to delay the episode 23, and so we're putting this out now for you guys to enjoy as a little apology, but also we're hoping to make these regular things in the future. We have another one already recorded, but we're going to hold on to for it a little bit. Maybe we put it out after episode 23. Maybe we hold on to it longer. I'm not sure, but we're hoping to do these like little mystery corners. I think that's what I'm going to call it. The Alexander Society presents Mystery Corner. Please let me know if you have any ideas for topics or improvements, and I hope you enjoy the episode. So, the Missing 401, so it originally started as like kind of a book series done by a single person, Paul Davies. Paul Davies actually, I have no idea how to pronounce his next name actually. So it's a series of books and films that explain people who have gone missing on federal property. They're authorized by David Paulides. It's Paulides. I have no idea how it's pronounced. He maintains that these are kind of like unusual, mysterious, whatever. He's convinced they meet certain criteria. It's kind of taken a little bit of a life of its own on Reddit and such. Like people, armchair detective work kind of like on the internet, basically. Like there's a lot of communities on the internet, specifically Reddit, 4chan, or whatever, that like to look into mysteries like this. And it's some people like to say, hey, this should belong in here or whatever. But there's always going to be those gatekeepers like, well, it's not officially covered by the person who created the thing, so it's not really. Mm-hmm. The criteria are they go missing near water, either or like mountainous areas like boulders, granite, berries, which this is his criteria. The boiled down, just simple version that a lot of people follow is they're really unexplainable mysteries that have happened on like federal property, basically. There's no logical reason. It's not the person who like went camping or whatever and just didn't show up. It's like, okay, they were here, they were seen somewhere in the middle, and then they were seen, their body was found like 12 miles away or something like that. Mm-hmm. Not just like, okay, they just went missing. It's not just regular missing people, obviously. It's a little bit more than that. Mm-hmm. According to him, the victims are largely of Germanic heritage, which I was honestly surprised about. I didn't realize that was one of the criteria.
So like either like German or Scandinavian background?
The site said specifically German heritage.
Okay.
I think that this is him just trying to narrow it down more than it really needs to be, to perfectly honest. Like he's adding extra steps where there probably shouldn't be, but these are the official according to him. They are more intelligent than average, or are the completely opposite, and they're physical or mentally handicapped, which is interesting. And then during the event, there were weather changes or that something prohibited the search efforts. Basically, there are obstacles to be able to make the search happen in a good man in like a proper, efficient manner.
Yeah.
And then the last one is they are found impossibly far away. It's really disjointed, to be fair, to look into. There's no like real, other than just going and looking at the cases he's personally covered. It's kind of disjointed because it's more like it's a lot of armchair detective work that's kind of like gotten an umbrella term associated with it, kind of.
Right.
And it's not truly a exact movement or like definitive term, I guess you could say. I've got two cases that are considered part of the missing 411, whether they're, I don't know if both of them, I know one is considered part of the official missing 411, but I don't know if the second one is because I got it from, I looked it up via a YouTuber case, someone I follow, Wendigoon. But the first case is Mark Anthony Strittmater, I want to say is how you pronounce the last name. Mm-hmm. And he was part of one of the movies that was done on the missing 411. So his case was he was 44 years old, and he was a hunter who disappeared during a snowstorm. And 3 years ago, but he went missing during a snowstorm, and the search really couldn't find him. And then he was found not far from where they originally searched.
Hmm.
I think the remains were found recently, though, is the thing. Remains were found like right next to where they searched. About the article, the post I'm reading says they were found 325 yards away from prior search areas, and identification was made by examination of the remains and known dental records.
That's if you're not going to be able to find somebody, that's the kind of conditions you're not going to be able to find somebody.
He was last seen at a convenience store before he went missing, and he was heading into Medicine Bow National Forest to hunt elk.
Mm.
And the search lasted for about a week. That's about all I have on it. That's not going to just get into the weeds. And then there's the case of Dennis Martin.
Hmm.
And again, some cases are more weird than others. This one's like, yeah, he went missing during a snowstorm. So it happens. It's going to be hard to find him, even if you are near where the body was left. You know.
Yeah, that one I'd say just sounds like a cautionary tale against going hunting while under bad weather.
So the way it was worded is maybe he went missing before the snowstorm, but the search during the snowstorm was what caused it.
Uh,
But who knows? Um, Dennis Martin. So he was a 6-year old resident of Knoxville, Tennessee, and he was visiting the Great Smoky Mountains National Park with his grandfather, and older brother on Father's Day of '69. So this was a good while ago,
nice.
and this was like a family tradition for him, is what it says. The family hiked from Cades Cove to Russell Field and camped overnight. The next day, they hiked from Spence Field to the Appalachian Trail, where they planned to spend the night. Martin disappeared on the 14th around 4:30 p.m. while planning on surprising the adults and his older brother and the other children that were with him from the other sides of the family. Well, no, a separate family. Sorry, I'm reading an article about it, and he was last seen by his father going to hide behind a bush. And like the video I watched on it, he actually went to the location, and it's baffling because it's like you can kind of see behind this bush. There's nowhere for him to hide. It's like he's there 1 second and gone another, and it's not like they kind of like he could have like just walked away from the area. You would have seen him leaving from behind the bush, even if you turned away from it like a little bit, even if you weren't paying attention. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Like it wasn't like a big giant bush that you could just he could walk from out behind there and not really realize. It could have been trimmed since when it happened, but who knows? It it was so long ago. Like it was 69. It was how many years ago is 69? It's like 50, 64 years ago. I can't do the math right now.
Yeah, it's like 54, 55 years.
When he went behind the bush, no one saw him after that. He after 5 minutes and all the kids returned, they were kind of concerned, so they started looking for him. And he went like his father searched like 2 miles worth of trails to try and find him.
Hmm.
And that's a long. It's a 6-year old.
Yeah.
2 miles for a 6-year old is a ridiculous range. Now it's not like this area was like super safe. It was apparently, according to this article, there was plenty of wild animals in the area. Plus, it was 69. They weren't as worried about stuff, so there were snakes, bears, feral hogs, and bobcats in the area. But like, it was a little. He was with family. It was nearby. Like he probably would have. They would have heard screams if something like regular would have happened.
Hmm.
After they searched without help for a while, like just the family and that I guess the other people that were with him, the other families, but like his family, I was specifically, I mean, and then they asked the rangers for help. Um, they were in an area that had a lot of slopes and ravines, apparently, and not long after his disappearance, there was a lot of rain, apparently, and it washed out the trails. So that's your little extra little part that could add to the here's another weather related thing, or here's another you know obstacle.
Yeah, like a little bit of climatological engineering there.
And it sounds like these have like a lot of um, weather, maybe because the two I found right away that were easy to find both have weather that I didn't even realize was a part of it to be a factor, even if no one really realized weather was a factor. So they conducted searches, and during the first day there was like heavy rain, but there was 1,400 people involved. Like this was a big search. They found some footprints, but park officials decided it was part of a Boy Scout troop thing. Like so, there were Boy Scouts in the area. They led to a stream where they disappeared, and it indicated that someone was missing a shoe, because one of them was barefoot,
Mhm.
which was weird because according to this article, it was the same kind of shoe that Martin was missing. Potentially, it says that it could have been an Oxford, which was the same type of shoe he's wearing, or a tennis shoe. Although, which is weird from a modern perspective, I assumed that they were different back then, but an Oxford and a tennis shoe are way different modern shoes, right? Like I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, even back then, like tennis shoes back then, like even today, like tennis shoes have like a generally like more or less like flat sole, whereas an Oxford has kind of a little bit of a raised heel that leaves like a distinctive like heel print in the step.
Yeah. So one of the park rangers thinks they were Martins because there were no other prints and none of the Boy Scouts that were apparently the Boy Scouts were actually part of the search party, according to this article, and none of them were known to be barefoot at the time. Uh, they found what was likely the sock and shoe that were taken off, leading to the set of barefoot prints on the 22nd of June, 69. So, like, almost 10 days later. No. So, read that wrong because of the commas. So, on the 22nd, they had covered 56 square miles. It doesn't say when the socks and shoes were found, but they had a big search party. By the 29th, that was their last search. That's a bit of contradiction, but whatever. The last official search was the 29th, but like they stopped searching in general, like maybe they weren't like going out in parties, but they were keeping an eye out or whatever. On the 14th is when they officially closed the search down.
Yeah, like probably the last official search for with like aid from like park rangers or something like that, and then like private groups just kept going and searching until a little later.
So this article also shows three main theories on what happened to him. The first is that he lost and died from exposure or some other cause on the first day, which probably what happened. Second is he was attacked by a bear. Is the or basically an animal is the theory, and carried off. And third, he was abducted and taken out of the park.
Yeah, honestly, the with a missing shoe like that, honestly, like abduction seems like a like in a vacuum, abduction seems like a reasonable um, plot or plausible at least.
So I feel like abduction or the attack are the most likely ones because maybe he got attacked and got away from the animal and his foot was damaged and he took the shoe and sock off because of the injury. That that's my likely scenarios, but who knows? And then there's plenty of people who have.
And the body was never recovered, right? It was never found.
Not according to this, no. But they searched a big area, like if there was a body in that area, they should have found it. Like no body found, so there's no way this. It's just another baffling case, and I probably didn't do like a whole great job, obviously, of explaining that, but I did a lot better than last time.
No, that's yeah, that's an interesting. No, like the fact that there's like a trend of like these sorts of disappearances with like these weird aspects to it, specifically on like federal owned land.
Thank you for joining us for our very first bonus episode of the Alexander Society podcast. If you enjoyed it, let us know. It's still in its beginning phases, so it's pretty rough. The recording was pretty rough. Um, I didn't put as much editing into it because I wanted this to feel like more of a natural thing, less scripted. It was much less scripted because I was just reading off a article slash Wikipedia page to Derek. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like and review. You can find the podcast on social media at Alex Society Pod on Twitter and the Alexander Society Pod on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find Derek on Twitter at Visigoth. The first I is a 1 and the O is a 0. And then you can find Tim at Tim, aka Otis, on Twitter. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed what you listened to, please give us a rate and review on your streaming platform of choice. And we will see you next time. Thank you.